Welcome to the Poor Man's Retro Game Room. Today we're going to cover 5 games that you can still get for the Super Nintendo that are under 15 bucks. As you know, the price of retro games have went up and they just keep going up. And one of the things that I like to do is to try to highlight value and budget titles that are good titles that you'll want to play, but that you can still get at a good price. And then one of the other things I wanted to do today was to ask you guys, put in the comments some of the Super Nintendo games that you like that are good games that you can still get at a budget price. And I think what we'll try to shoot for is $15 and under. You can still get some very good deals out there, and there's some very good games that you can get for $15 or under. So let's get started. The first game I wanted to highlight today is Killer Instinct. Now, this is a fighting game developed by Rare. It was an arcade port from the arcade, and originally when they were putting out Killer Instinct, they had plans for the game to be on the Ultra 64, which turned into the N64, but the classic original game never did end up on the 64. But it was released, and it was a very high-profile release on the Super Nintendo. This game is actually a very, very good fighting game, and there's a few differences that it has from your normal fighting game, but, you know, for the most part it is one of those standard 1990 fighting games. They did use, like, the motion capture, so it kind of resembles a little bit Mortal Kombat, and but they did do some other things like combos. You know, it wasn't a certain button that you pushed to string together different attacks. There was actually a button command, so if you followed that button command, it would release a string of hits together and a combination. And then of course all the fighters had their special moves, things that they could do. But a very good, really good fighter that you can still get for under 15 bucks. And I believe Price Charters had this one, I think it was $11.60, about $11 or $12. So a fighting game developed by Rare. I mean, you know, you can't go wrong there. Rare had some really some really great games on the Super Nintendo. So Killer Instinct for the Super Nintendo. The second game that I wanted to cover, and this one I'm sure if you own a Super Nintendo, you either have the game, maybe you have it already, or you've played it at one time, maybe rented it, whatever. But it's an excellent game, and it's still really cheap. And I missed out on this early on, so it was cool for me to collect this once I got my Super Nintendo and started recollecting for the Super Nintendo. I wanted some of the very, very early titles, and FZero, of course, is one of those very early titles. It is a really good racing game, and it's very addictive, actually. I think back in the day it kind of got a little bit of a knock, you know, trying to say that maybe it was just kind of a demo to demonstrate Mode 7 graphics on the Super Nintendo. It's far more than that. And the more you play it, the more you realize that. Several different tracks, and it's very cool that you can damage your craft. And if you do damage your craft, there's spots on the track, usually like right after the finish line. So, you know, once you make one lap, you hit that next lap, that you can steer your craft over, and a ship will come down and repair some of the damage while you're on that strip on the track. So it's very cool. It's almost like a pit stop that you don't have to stop for. So I don't know if that makes sense, but it's very, very cool. And then also you get bursts. So I would call it a nitro burst, but you get a burst that gives you a real good speed burst, and kind of knowing when to use that on the track was always fun. So FZero for the Super Nintendo, another very, very good budget title on the Super Nintendo. I highly recommend it. And let's see here. So then let's go to one of the other games that there really is just two things that really held this next game back from being great. And some people might still say that it is great. It was pretty good. I mean, it's a great game. It's a good game that had the potential to be a great game. But I had lots of fun on it, and that is Final Fight. And as you know, I love my brawlers. Love it. This is a very good game. Now, the only thing that really holds Final Fight back on the Super Nintendo is Guy is not a selectable character. And then the only other thing that really holds it back is that it's not two-player. It's only a one-player game. But don't let that deter you. It is a very good representation of the arcade Final Fight game. And I've spent a lot of hours on this back in the day. This was one of the games that I had to get the first time I owned my Super Nintendo before I, got stupid and sold it and traded it off. So, but Final Fight, very, very good game. Very, very good price. I believe it's hovering around $12 right now, according to PriceCharters.com. So, can't recommend it enough, especially if you're looking for some Super Nintendo budget titles. Final Fight. And then let's go to a platformer. So, this is a good platformer, and I don't know that a lot of people think of this game, but Tiny Toons Adventure Buster Bust Loose. Now this is a very good platformer. I like it anyway. It is a little, maybe a little more aimed for kids, but the platforming's really good in it. The control's good. I like the music in the game. I like the level design. I like the variation of different levels that you play through. Now it's not a extremely long game. I think it's like 6 levels. And there's boss fights and there's mini games in it. It has a lot of really cool stuff to, kind of keep you interested, at least until you finish the game one time. But a very, very fun game at a very affordable price. And honestly, I'm a fan of anything Looney Tunes. So this was a really good find for me, and at a great price. I believe that Price Charters has it around $10 or less. But when you find a good platformer, one that you enjoy playing, and it's kind of one of those games where you sit down, you chill out, and just play a good platforming game and a fun video game. Yeah. So, Looney Tunes, Tiny Toon Adventures, Buster Bust Loose. Very good game on the Super Nintendo at a very, very good price. And then the last game is a racing game that I just discovered not too long ago, and I'm sure a lot of people, have discovered and played this game, but it was one that I kind of passed over. And the reason I passed it over was not the best reason, honestly. But that's Top Gear. So the reason I passed it over the first time was I had read a review, and it is a split screen game, even in first player mode, one player mode I should say. So in one player mode, you're looking at the top of the screen, that's you. Now one of the other racers, and of course you can play 2 players, they're the bottom part of the screen. But it is always in split screen mode, and that could be there could have been some technical limitations that they were working with, but the more I play this game, the more I like it. I certainly haven't mastered it yet, but it is a very, very cool game. And the later, as you progress through the game, you're going to hit some tracks where you have to really manage your fuel. And another thing is you can pick from 4 different cars right off the bat, and each of those different cars have different stats and different things that make those cars, they're better at different things. Some of those cars are a little more fuel efficient. So later on in the game, and the game does, it gets to be a little bit of a challenge, but but you have to really manage your fuel. You can take pit stops, pull your car in, fuel up, and then head out. Now, one of the cool things about the game, maybe it's cool, I like it, when you hit something, it doesn't really do damage to your car, but it kind of slows you down. So, I mean, you still have that incentive not to hit anything and to try to drive a perfect race. But it doesn't kill the race for you. You can make some mistakes and still win in Top Gear. So, now later on, it gets tough and you really have to memorize those tracks and watch your fuel and several different things. But it's a very, very good game, and I will say the soundtrack on this game is amazing. I have not heard a bad soundtrack on this game at all. Every single one of them, they're great. They're memorable, and I love them. So, graphics, music, sound, strategy, everything. This game has it all. And you can get past that split screen mode very fast. Once you start playing it and you start focusing in, you really, I do anyway, forget that it's a split screen game. So, Top Gear, great game, great price. So there you have it. 5 Super Nintendo games that you can still get for under 15 bucks. And I would really, really love to hear from you guys. I know that anybody who watches this video would love to hear from you. Put some games down in the comments that you can still get for a budget price on the Super Nintendo that are good games. Love to hear from you, and I would love to have that discussion. We could all benefit from it. So, well, thank you very much for joining me today. And I do want to thank you if you made it to the end of the video. I really do appreciate it. If you like this content and this topic, feel free to give a thumbs up. That really does kind of help me know, what if we're doing something that you guys like. So you can give a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel and you just started watching, feel free to subscribe if you like the content. So thank you guys very, very much, and I do hope you have a great and safe rest of your day.